All right, everybody, welcome back to the You're Wrong podcast, college basketball section, coming at you with the best news about college basketball all year round. And I'm Jake, if you didn't know, if you haven't been tuned in, if you're new here.
I'm Julian, also known as the person who predicted Ohio State to take down Duke the other night. So if ESPN, Sports Center, if they got any jobs open, I'm here. Just give me a holler.
Yeah, for sure. So the first game we want to get into, we're gonna go over some recaps. And the first game I want to get into is Purdue versus Florida State. Honestly, this was kind of a highly anticipated game coming in, I think, before the injuries happened. They lost three guys pre-game. Florida State did. They lost three guys. I think that played a huge factor in why they got blown out of the water by like almost 30. The final score was 93-65. And honestly, I didn't really see much I liked from Florida State besides Caleb Mills, that Houston transfer. You probably know him since Houston's your boys. But he looked all right. But besides that, I don't know. Purdue just looks way too deep. I don't know if it's just me gassing it or they're playing a beat up team, but they look deep. I think that they definitely got multiple options. You know what I mean? Like say Zach Edey gets in foul trouble. I think they got Travion Williams who could come in and is just as good. You know what I mean? So I think they have these pieces to be a really good team this year where if they hit bumps in the road, you know how these other teams are hitting bumps in the road and their bigs are getting in foul trouble and it's causing problems. I think Purdue's fine. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I'll get into Purdue a little bit later. We got a segment, contender or pretender. So I'll talk about them for sure later on. But yeah, like you said, they beat Florida State pretty handily. You know, the Big Ten, they won the ACC Big Ten Challenge 8-6. This was one of the very convincing wins.
Mm-hmm.
And I liked Florida State. I mentioned in the other episode coming into this game. But as soon as I saw the alert that Raekwon Evans was out and two of their big men, I was like, yeah, no way. Florida State, they're going to get absolutely smoked, and they did. They cut the lead a little bit late in the second half, but they were in no position to win that game whatsoever. Yeah. So, yeah, definitely another convincing win for Purdue. But like I said, I'll talk about them a little later on.
So, another game that happened is UNC versus Michigan. You know, personally, before the game, I was going to take Michigan, but I was like, you know what, I'm staying away from this one. UNC's a weird team this year. They suck, then they don't suck. So I didn't take anything for this game, but the final score ended up being 72-51 UNC. We're not going to talk much about it now. We're going to go over some more scores. I know you got some more scores that you wanted to just harp off real quick.
Yeah. So we had Iowa. They were in like you said, North Carolina, they smoked Michigan. North Carolina, their defense looked better, North Carolina. But I don't think it looked as good where Michigan should be scoring 50 points. I mean, that's unacceptable. Especially because I like Michigan coming into this game. But besides the point, Iowa, they beat Virginia by one. Joe Toussaint, he had a late bucket to put them up. And but Iowa, they were up 20 points at one point. And then Virginia, like they were just doing what they do. You know, they dig in defensively, just getting one stop at a time. That's all they were doing. I feel like they were just playing that game in like 2-minute intervals. Like we just got to win these 2 minutes. So definitely some resiliency from Virginia. They're not looking great early. They're 5-3. You know, they don't really Jaden Gardner, he's a transfer from East Carolina. He's probably their best scorer. But when your second go-to guy after that is Kie Clark.
Yeah.
And for those of you who don't know, I think Kie Clark is like awful. I think he's a rat defensively. Like he just plays 94 feet for no reason. But when he's your second scoring option, you got problems. But Iowa they definitely look good in this game. I definitely underestimated their kind of guards, I would say. Their guards are definitely the strength of that team with the 10th year senior, what's his name, Jordan Bohannon. Yeah, I mean, what are you doing, bro? Just graduate. But
he's probably still got another year, to be honest.
Dude, like, just leave. Nobody wants to watch you play anymore. He just hits 40-foot threes and like, just get out of here. I want to watch somebody else. But Keegan Murray, he's an NBA talent. And like I mentioned before, Joe Toussaint, he's definitely good with the ball.
Yeah, Keegan Murray, he's the number one scorer in the country for Division I right now. I think he averages something like 24.6 or 26.4. It's one of those. I may be off. That's why I just gave that little range. but he's the number one scorer right now. I think they're 7-0. I think that they kind of look tough, and they're not ranked in the AP poll. So I'm kind of worried if they're not ranked next week. But we're gonna get into that.
Yep, for as a look ahead later on. Yep.
But I like what they're doing over there. So is there any other score? Oh, we're gonna talk about Duke OSU, right?
Yeah. Well, actually, first, the game that took probably 15 years off my life, maybe a little bit less than that. Syracuse, Indiana.
Oh yeah. How could I forget about that one?
So, yeah, we both bet that game. You bet Indiana. I bet Syracuse. Syracuse won, but hand to God, that's the last time I bet against Trace Jackson Davis. I swear to God, I will never bet against him again. He is an absolute monster. 31 points, 16 rebounds. I know it went to double overtime, but still 31 points and 15 rebounds in a college game. That's unheard of. But late in the game, he goes down with a knee injury, and I'm texting you. I'm like, I will cry. I will absolutely cry if this dude is done for the year with a knee injury. But nah, he was good. He came back, and I think he dunked on someone on Syracuse. So I think that was a little grow up moment for him.
Week in and week out, I feel like we just keep talking about Trace Jackson Davis. I mean, if this dude's not an NBA roster next year or the next year after that, I don't know, man. Like somebody's missing out. I think he's a talent. I mean, he got battle tested against Cuse and he was just killing, you know what I mean? I mean, granted, Jesse Edwards guarding him, you know, these other forwards for Cuse that stink out loud, Jimmy Boeheim, you know, I mean, it's whatever. He's still a talent. He's still a generational talent in college basketball right now, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
no, that's what I was just going to say. And, you know, Cuse is the same Cuse team. You know, Jimmy Boeheim had 26 points. I have no clue how he had 26 points. He's the worst basketball player I've ever watched in my life. I was texting. I was like, this dude, he cannot be on the court. There's no way. Like, I get he's your son and everything, but, you know, I don't think he can play basketball. And then he ends up with 30 points. So I tipped my cap in because he won me money. But I don't know. Cuse is Cuse.
yeah, Cuse will be Cuse. We know this. Sweet 16, weird Sweet 16 teams.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so let's talk about some Duke, Ohio State.
Yeah, talk about your
things
boys.
we've seen. So what I personally seen in this game is there wasn't like good shots being taken. You know what I mean? I think OSU, I'll credit OSU's defense. I think they were forcing us into bad shots. And I think Paulo couldn't get it going all night. You know, I think he was I don't even know what he was like 4 for 14. That's just not good. That's not going to cut it. We're not gonna make these crazy shots, you know, like we were against Gonzaga and some of these other teams. Obviously, you know, he does it for the crowd and stuff, but like those aren't good shots sometimes, you know what I mean? And Trevor Keels has to be better. I mean, what did he have? 9 points? Like this dude looked like an NBA player against Kentucky, and now what does he look like? He looks like freaking not even a G League player. So it's like I think our stars need to figure it out against good teams because, you know, we're playing some savvy vets and like EJ Liddell, Zed Keed, you know what I mean? These guys know what they're doing, you know. They're not freshmen anymore. They're coming in, playing hard. They know we're down 13 at half. There's 20 more minutes left. That's a whole lot of basketball left. You know, they knew the assignment, you know what I mean? I think that EJ Liddell got the best of us, you know, 14 and 14. He's a good player, like I've been saying all year. This is actually a full circle moment for me because I said in the preseason, I said he's not going to be able to carry this team to wins. Well, I said he's not going to be able to carry this team to a conference championship or like NCAA noise, you know what I mean? But now he's just beat the number one team in the country. So, I mean, it just had to happen, didn't it? Because I said something. So it's like it's a full circle moment. I should have checked the schedule before Duke's season and seen they're playing Ohio State and knew this was going to happen. But it's all right. You know, they came out in good fashion. And one thing is, I did like the coaching though. The coaching from Coach K, he did a good job. You know, they started cutting the lead on us, and we were blowing the lead. And he called some timeouts that probably stopped their momentum for the meantime, and then we just couldn't answer. You know, we didn't have to answer. The last 5 minutes of the game, he calls a timeout. We're only up 5. And Ohio State still has all this adrenaline going, and we just can't get the ball in the hoop. You know, we didn't score a lot in the second half. It's just we got outscored by 18 points, I think. Like that just can't happen. You know, guys got to make shots. I'll credit Tim, our friend, for saying this, but like we're not going to make contested shots all year. That is true. Like it's not going to happen. You know what I mean? we're going to run into one of these teams, which I hope this doesn't happen. We're going to run into one of these teams like Richmond or somebody that has a lot of experience, basketball experience, and they're going to capitalize on the missed shots and run us out the gym. So I hope that doesn't happen, but there's still a lot of time left. So, but overall, it was a good game, what we expected.
Yeah, it was kind of just a red flag from the get with this game, and for those of you who don't know, Duke actually opened as a two point favorite, which means all they have to do is win the game by 2, and if you bet Duke, you win money, which is an obvious red flag. They should have been 8-point favorites. They beat Gonzaga. They're coming off that win, and then they open as 2-point favorites. So it was a stay away game for me. Like I said, it was a letdown spot. Duke, they're still a young team. They still have a lot to learn. They still have a lot to learn about themselves. And I think the biggest question for me right now, and even before the season, coming into the season, was the guard play. The guard play has always been the key factor in a Duke team success. And right now, it's just not there. You saw the other night, Trevor Keels and Jeremy Roach, they shot 7 of 22 from the field, 2 of 8 from 3. They're just not getting the production they need. I think Boncaro, I think Wendell Moore, and I think Mark Williams are all solid in the front court. But Coach K, I think, he's got to light a fire under these dudes. Because right now, their ceiling is capped. It's got to be. I prefer it to be both, but it's got to be one of the two, Keels or Roach. They got to figure it out soon. I'm a big believer in this team.
Yeah, you're lagging.
Long term. Yeah, no. Long story short, guards got to just show up. Simple as that.
It said my internet connection was unstable. I don't know what that was about, but yeah. Basically what you said is all true, and this is just a learning experience moving forward for Duke. So the next game we should talk about is probably the Gonzaga Tarleton game. Not that we expected to be talking about this game, but what, Gonzaga was scaring me at one point. They were going to lose outright. I was like, holy crap, I think they're going to lose outright. Taj Small, no-name guy from Tarleton, comes out, drops 25 points, 7 rebounds as well to that resume. And I just think they didn't expect it. I mean? They've been beating up on all these teams like Dixie State and whatnot. So you think they probably come out thinking, just go through the motions. This is basically practice for us. And then they come out and this one dude's playing his heart out because, he's only going to play Gonzaga one time probably in his career. So it's the biggest game he's probably going to play in. You know what I mean? It's Tarleton State. So he comes out and he drops 25 on you. Now people know who he is. Now I know his name. I couldn't tell you who he was from a hole in the wall before. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know what was going on because the matchups were just so uneven too. I looked at it after the game. Oh, that's bad.
Yo.
Wow.
Keep going.
I thought the power went out.
Yeah. Yeah, we're just going to have to do this in the dark.
So, yep, we're going to have to continue the episode in the dark, I guess, till your Wi-Fi cuts out.
Yeah, no, it's all good.
So, like I was saying, I looked at the stat sheet after. Their tallest player for Tarleton was 6'6". What is Drew Timme doing? What is Chet Holmgren doing? Why are they not scoring the ball at will against these guys? You know what I mean? Drew Timme finished with 10 points. That can't happen against Tarleton State. You know what I mean? It's probably like they're just looking down on them, but like you got to take care of your food, bro. Everyone else has been taking care of their food. You got to do it. Me personally, hate to say this, but I think Rasir Bolton is the X factor this year for them. When he plays good, the whole team plays good, and when he doesn't play good, they don't play good either. But at the same time, I think everything should run through him, not run through him, but I think he needs to be in getting shots. He can't finish games with less than 5 shots because when that happens, they're going to lose. I'm telling you right now, because he just hits the biggest shots for them from what I've seen.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right about receiver. Not necessarily like the offense doesn't need to run through him, but he needs to be involved. He needs to get shots.
Yeah.
But like Duke as well, this was kind of a letdown spot too for Gonzaga. It was an emotional game against Duke. Every guy, they were playing pretty much the whole game. And the biggest surprise about this game was, it was a 2-point game with 5 minutes left. Like, how was it a 2-point game with 5 minutes left? You're playing Tarleton. Usually they beat these teams by 50.
Mm-hmm.
But it kind of just goes to show the parity in college basketball this year. It's not like last year where Gonzaga is going to run away from the field, where Baylor is going to run away with the field. I don't think you have these dominant contenders who are going to lose 2 games all year. I think a lot of teams are going to be susceptible to upsets, and I think a lot of teams have weaknesses and that are going to get exposed year in, all year round. So I don't think there's nothing really to worry about long term from Gonzaga here, but it just kind of goes to show like the field is wide open this year.
Facts. I think you're totally right on that. It's wide open. We don't have a clear cut winner like we did last year.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's roll into some AP top 25. Some ranking, what we think is going on right now. Personally, I think personally, I think Duke is gonna drop down. I think they're gonna be 3 or 4. I don't see how. Actually, I can see Gonzaga being ahead of Duke only because Gonzaga has a better loss, if you know what I mean. You know what I mean? Like Duke has a worse loss than Gonzaga, but they still have this, like their schedule is still kind of the same, you know what I mean? And also Gonzaga has better wins. So if that makes sense.
No, I see what you mean there, but I think just by the way the committee's going to look at it is I don't think you can put a team above a team who just beat them literally like a week ago.
Yeah,
I see
true.
where you're coming from the wins and losses perspective, but if the committee ever put Gonzaga against Duke, like the headquarters of the AP poll committee would probably be burned down.
Yeah. Another interesting thing is Purdue potentially has the potential to move up to the number 1 spot, which has never been done under Matt Painter while he has been at Purdue. I don't know if you knew that, but he's never been ranked number 1 in the AP poll. So I don't know how this is going to work. It could be Purdue's first time number 1. So I think Baylor is fine where they are. Maybe move up to the 3 spot. Baylor looks really good this year. But honestly, outside of that, I think number 16, Bama, they're going to go up a couple spots, maybe 4 spots. BYU is definitely dropping after their horrible loss last night. BYU at number 12, they're dropping no matter what. Like we know they're dropping at least 5 spots. Memphis 18, they're definitely dropping, maybe off the whole AP poll in general. They might fall off the whole thing because there's a lot of teams playing way better than them right now. But yeah, I think Michigan's off too. Yeah, that's just what I see. I think Michigan's off.
Yeah, no, Michigan will be way off, and it's going to take it'll be a long time before they're back on there because they got to figure it out over there.
Yeah.
But like you said about Purdue being number 1 for probably the first time under Matt Painter, I think there's a reason for that. And I think it's because Matt Painter isn't a very good coach, and I think it's because this is the most talented team he's had.
Yeah.
But definitely props to Purdue. They'll be the number 1. They'll be the number 1 team after Duke's loss. But what I'm kind of most surprised about is UConn jumping up 5 spots to 17. They beat Auburn in double overtime in Battle for Atlantis, but then they lost to Michigan State, and then they went to overtime with VCU. So, like, I definitely think they should have went up there, like maybe 1 or 2 spots, but 5 spots to 17. That was kind of surprising, a little bit excessive, to be honest.
Yeah.
My boys, my SEC sleepers, Florida, they're jumping up 9 spots to 14. They just lost to a good Oklahoma team, though, at Oklahoma. So they'll probably drop 1 or 2 spots. But I'm liking what I'm seeing so far from Florida. They're hitting perimeter shots. I hope Mike White can figure it out. Like you have all this talent. Please don't blow it. Please don't under succeed in the SEC. Please don't get bounced first round in the NCAA tournament. But hey, there we go. That's after a good battle for Atlantis. So the committee, I guess, you bumped UConn up 5 spots, but then moved down Auburn 2 spots, even though they had similar battle for Atlantis runs. It doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. And like you just touched on, Michigan will be comfortably unranked after last night's embarrassment to I don't think this. I mean, I don't know what you think. I don't think UNC is very good at all, and they got smoked by them.
I don't really think they're that good either. I think that's a really bad loss for Michigan. Although Michigan does have their strength of schedule is pretty hard, so I could see them getting back on because they're gonna have some good wins. But I don't know. I don't know, man. I just don't like what Michigan's doing over there. I don't think they're the answer this year.
I'm gonna be honest. I don't think Hunter Dickinson is that guy. And personally, I don't think he was last year either. I mean, you had Franz Wagner, you had Isaiah Livers, you had all these people surrounding him.
Yeah.
He was getting a lot of one-on-one opportunities. Now they're saying this year, okay, play out of a double team, play out of freshman Caleb Houston, kick it out to him. Eli Brooks, is he going to step up? But back to Hunter Dickinson, I don't think he's obviously very talented, but
he got neutralized early. He picked up 4 fouls in that game. Some of them came pretty early and at bad times for them. Caleb Houston, though, is another guy. He reminds me of Max Christie from Michigan State. He's just going through the freshman woes just like Max Christie is. They're both playing horrible basketball right now, but they'll figure it out. I still got hope. If they don't have it figured out by the end of the month of December, though, I don't have any hope after that. I'm giving them a month to figure it out, a month of good basketball. Figure it out. Make your team better, since you guys are not the key guys, but you guys are make the ship run. I mean, they're parts of it. They're big parts of it. They didn't come in to be a freshman off the bench that gives in 12 minutes. They came in to be starters, and you know what I mean? Like, they came in to prove something. So we'll see what happens. They're very similar in my eyes in how they've came out this freshman year. So if you guys watching this want to tap into Max Christie or Caleb Houston and let me know if I'm wrong. I don't think I'm wrong though. I think that they're both playing very subpar right now, very below average for what we expected from them. But yeah, freshmen, we'll see.
So Michigan's definitely out as a contender. So why don't we hop into some other teams who are either a contender or a pretender? This is going to be a new segment that we do. Probably once every month or so. Just to kind of keep people updated with the current state of teams or like the outlook long term. So we got Duke, we got Gonzaga. Obviously contenders.
Yeah.
Do you have any other teams you wanted to touch on? We'll just go back and forth. You name a team, I name a team.
So basically, shout out to Kyle if you're watching this. We kind of took this segment from you. So, if you're listening, we kind of got this segment from you because we liked it in your podcast. So I think Purdue is a contender. I don't think they're a pretender. I think that they have all the firepower, like I was saying earlier. They got a 10 to 12 man deep bench that can play. Jaden Ivey, he's an NBA caliber player. Zach Edey's a 7'4" tree. Even if he's not that skilled, he's still going to score and he's still going to grab rebounds and he's going to play defense. He's going to protect the rim. Trevion Williams, one of my favorite players on that team. He's their X factor guy off the bench. He comes in, makes plays for them. Double guy. Don't quote me on the double, but he probably averages something up there. He's pretty good. He's a really good basketball player. And they just got key guys around them. You know what I mean? It's just like, I look at that team and I say like to myself, this is the type of team that could go deep. You know what I mean?
So when you look at how the roster is constructed, you look at 1 through 5, you look at the 4 or 5 guys coming off the bench. You're like, this team, they check every box. They have height, they have shooting, they have guard play. They don't really turn the ball over. So you say to yourself, you're like, this team, they're going to go far. But for me, Purdue, locked and loaded pretender. And here's why. They're a very bad defensive team. They gave up a combined total of 25 threes to Villanova and UNC, the only 2 capable teams they played so far. Florida State too, but they were missing 3 guys. And they gave up 40% from 3 to both those teams. They were also out-rebounded by North Carolina. North Carolina, they had Baycott and Garcia. But like you said, Edey, 7'4", Trevion Williams, like a 5th-year senior. He's 6'10", He's supposed to get after it on the glass.
Yeah.
Should be getting out rebounded to UNC, but more importantly, and this is kind of like the sole purpose why I think they're a pretender. What has Matt Painter accomplished in his tenure as a Purdue head coach, other than sitting back and letting Carson Edwards get hot for one tournament run where they went to the Elite Eight? He hasn't done anything. He's had a lot of talent. He's had Travion Williams for 5 years. He's had Sasha Stefanovic for going on 6. Vincent Carson, like I just mentioned, Dakota Mathias, Nogel Eastern. He was a first-team all-defense player in the Big Ten. And then they had 2 trees before, Matt Arms and Isaac Haas. So this team is constructed definitely in a deeper way that those past teams were, but I don't see a lot changing. You know, Travion Williams and Stefanovic, they've been here for 6 years. I don't see a lot changing. I verify though, I do think this team is going to be near unbeatable in the regular season, especially because they don't lose at home. They don't lose at Mackey Arena.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think they lose. I don't think they lose to Iowa this coming up game. It's in Mackey Arena. I don't think they lose.
They probably don't. Iowa keeps it close, but you're right. They probably don't lose the game. And that's what I'm saying. I think they're going to have a very good regular season. But in terms and as far as tournament is considered NCAA tournament, I don't see it. I'm going to be honest, if they're a 1 seed, I can see if they don't draw a good 8-9 matchup, I can see them getting bounced first weekend. And I'll stand by that all year. You know, I'm going to have to sit back and take shots for a while. They're going to have a good regular season, but we'll revisit it in a couple months. But right now and for the rest of the season, I think Purdue is a pretender.
For sure. So bouncing into our next team that we're going to talk about, Baylor. I think 100% locked in contender. Don't know how far they go. I think that they're going to at least make moves for the Sweet 16. They got a lot of guys back, you know, like we talked about last week, just guys stepping up that are filling roles, you know, they're just filling into these spots. And they still got Scott Drew there, you know, manning the ship. He's a really good coach. He's probably just as hungry as they are, you know what I mean? He's coming off a season where he just lost like 4 out of the 5 starters, if not all the starters. I think all the starters actually are gone. Yeah. So I think he's just as hungry to prove himself, you know what I mean? I think he wants to prove that that wasn't just a fluke year, that he wasn't just playing with, just didn't coach a bunch of NBA talent, you know what I mean? And I think Baylor is a contender for sure. That could change down the line, though. I could see that changing down the line, but.
Yeah, you know, before the season, I probably would have said no, but that was before I learned how good James Akinjo was. I knew he was the guy at Arizona, but I didn't think his game would translate to the Big 12. And the emergence of Kendall Brown, like you mentioned a couple episodes before, you know, those guys have really stepped up. Yeah. And I think they're a contender in my eyes, obviously to a lesser degree from last year, you know, because that was probably one of the better college basketball teams I've seen in my lifetime. So obviously not to that level of contending, but I think Baylor is not a team to mess around with this year in the Big 12 and in the NCAA tournament.
Thanks.
So I would say I'll start it with Villanova. I think, and you might disagree with me here, but I think they're a contender. You know, I'm very high on Gillespie, very high on Justin Moore. Jermaine Samuels is a glue guy. And I think Jay Wright has somewhat came to the realization that it doesn't matter who he has on his bench. He's just got to play him. You know, like it doesn't matter if these guys are 0-star recruits. You have to have a bench. You cannot have Ryan Arcidiacono's brother as your only guy off the bench.
I was just about to say Arcidiacono's, he was blowing mine last night, but like you said, I'm high on Gillespie too. You know, I like Gillespie. I've been saying I've liked him all season long. I think he's a 20-point per game player when he actually makes shots and is locked in, and his teammates find him. He doesn't have to create his own shot. When he's a spot up, he's knocking it every time. But he can shoot off the dribble too. I think Villanova's a contender too. Like you said, Jay Wright, he always gets to the promised land somehow, some way. Doesn't matter what group he's got. We've seen him take groups with guys like Mikal Bridges were on his bench. You know what I mean? Like that was a bench guy, and now look what he's doing in the NBA. So it's like he can turn these players into something. You know what I mean? So I think he
Yeah.
can. I think he can work. He's one of the coaches that can work with what he has. You know what I mean? He doesn't need these top talent NBA prospects. He makes players better. You know what I mean? With the system that he's got going on over there. But
You know,
I'm
and
on the fence though, kind of like I don't want to cut you off, but I'm not buying in all the way on Villanova because I've seen really bad things, but like I kind of want to buy in because I've seen really good things. But it's just another thing time will
yeah,
tell.
no, I figured you would be on the fence a little bit, but I think the way I'm looking at it is the starting five is really good. Like they're really
Yeah.
talented. So, and like you mentioned, we were waiting on Jay Wright to like go to his bench. You know, they haven't really been playing good teams. They played Pennsylvania. They played LaSalle about a week ago. But he's finally starting to dig into his bench. All you have to do is just grab these guys, put them in the game, and say, guard the ball and get rebounds. That's all you have to do. Justin Moore and Gillespie, they'll take care of the rest. All you have to do is rebound the ball and just do what I'm asking. And I think that's that's going to be a lot more effective for Villanova than just playing six guys the whole game, and one of them is Ryan Archidiak and his brother. You know, I don't think that was going to win them very many games. But Jay Wright, I've learned to never count him out.
Thanks. Another coach that we probably shouldn't count out, but I think we're both counting out is Mick Cronin. You know, I think UCLA is a pretender. We've been saying this since the beginning of the year. They're a good team. Obviously, they got upperclassmen that are coming back for them, playing really good again. Like, you know, Tyre Campbell looks like he got better. You know, Hawkins looks like he could have gotten better. Johnny Juzang looks like himself from what we've seen from the tournament run. And like we can't get away from the fact that last year they were still a first four team. You know what I mean? Like they weren't even supposed to be in the position they were in. It's why I'm scared. But like at the same time, the reason I'm kind of on the fence too about UCLA. I think they're a pretender, but the reason that they could be a contender is because the Pac-12 just really isn't good this year. Like, you know, we've seen Oregon State making a run last year. Um, but they suck this year. You know what I mean? They suck. So it's like I don't think there's any really Pac-12 teams that are really going to be able to compete. Maybe Arizona and Oregon if they can ever get it together. But I don't know. I think they're a pretender come tournament time, but they'll probably win the Pac-12 if Arizona doesn't win it.
Yeah. So I mean, I would say this is the one team I have as a pretender that I truly feel deep down in my heart they're gonna come back and make me eat my words. Just because I know that the talent is there, and I know I know how valuable tournament experience is. You know, like you said, it was kind of a fluke run, but just getting to the Final Four and bringing back those same guys, adding Miles Johnson from Rutgers, he's an anchor in the paint. That can be scary. So, I mean, like you said, I'm kind of on the fence as well, but now I'm going to go pretender just because I haven't seen the consistency from Hawkins and Juzang. You know, we've seen them get hot last year, but is that going to be like, I don't know if I can rely on that to call them a set in stone contender.
Yeah.
So like I said, it's just the consistency aspect. They're looking a little bit better defensively, but not to the point where I'm really ready to buy in on them as a Mick Cronin like defense team that we're used to seeing.
Mm-hmm.
So like I said, pretender with an asterisk. You know, I think this team can become a contender very, very quickly. I got to see it first.
Yeah, for sure. Another team, I don't want to keep taking so long with the AP analysis, but another team that I think is a pretender is Texas and Kentucky. I think these two teams, you know, they got really good players. I just don't think that they're meshing. I don't think it's gonna mesh well come tournament time. And
Yeah,
Julian's power's out again.
yeah,
So
we're out again.
we're gonna
RIP.
rock with that. But yeah, so I think I don't know. Texas, I'm like, it's another team I'm on the fence about. But at this point in time, if the tournament started tomorrow, I think Texas is a pretender, and I think Kentucky's a pretender. And I'm not even being biased on Kentucky. You know, we know Kentucky fans, so I don't know if they're gonna listen to this. I don't want them to think, oh, Jake's being a bias, you know, whatever, Duke fan. But no, I don't think Kentucky has what it takes this year. You know, they got these transfers, but you know, that's basically the same as putting freshmen on the floor, bro. They never played together. You know what I mean? Like, so I think they're building chemistry, but it's just going to take some time to convince me that they're a contender. I don't see it right now. They're in good games with Ohio. Um, they took care of some other games. They lost to Duke, which is a group of freshmen basically, outside of like two guys. Like two guys that actually play a lot of minutes, you know what I mean? And then I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know. It's confusing with Kentucky right now. I'm confused with them. I don't know
Yeah.
what to pick.
So I'm gonna hit on Texas real quick. Like you said, we're going off of right now, and
Yeah.
I'm actually really excited about this because right now Texas is like they define what a pretender is. You know what I'm saying? Like all the preseason hype. You got this new coach, you got these transfers coming in. Everybody thinks they're a shoe-in, and right now they're really not that good. They've played a bunch of bombs, and we've seen them be in close games with these teams. So right now I think they're a pretender. But Chris Beard, he just sent Andrew Jones to the bench, and for the last two games, I think he's been coming off the bench. So I think this is going to be the fire that kind of sparks this team a little bit because like he wants to win.
Yeah.
Andrew Jones, he was one of their best guards coming into the season, and he hasn't been playing even close to what we've expected. So Beard sent him to the bench. He's like, I'm going to get somebody else in here who's actually going to work hard defensively. He's not. I don't. Andrew Jones been missing shots, but I don't think that would have called for Beard to send him to the bench. I think it's just his lack of hustle, lack of defense. So right now, Texas pretender. Long term, I kind of like this team as a contender. I really do.
I can agree with you on that. I could agree with you on that. I could see that.
Yeah.
Like I said, if the tournament was to start tomorrow, they're a pretender. They're gonna lose probably their first game or second game. But same with Kentucky too. I don't think Kentucky has what it takes to beat a mid-major right now that is I'm not gonna say anything because the full circle moment will end up happening to me. But I think Kentucky is good, but I don't think they're Final Four good yet. You know what I mean? They gotta prove it to me. They gotta prove it to me.
Yeah. So I mean, Kentucky, like they have a really good team. Like their starting five is really good. They have a couple guys coming off the bench. They're a really good team, but really good teams don't win you games in the NCAA tournament. Like you said, transfers. They don't play a lot together. They haven't really like built a culture together.
Yeah.
We don't know what the identity Calipari really wants for that team. So yeah, right now they're
Think
obviously
about it, bro. Think about it. You got a bunch of egos coming in, and you're trying to put a bunch of egos together, that could end up not working. We haven't really seen it yet because they're playing these small schools, but let's see what happens when they get battle tested. Let's see if Oscar Tshiebwe can keep his cool, you know what I mean? Let's see if Severe Wheeler keeps passing the ball, you know what I mean? Let's see if these dudes keep doing these things, you know what I mean? It looks so easy to tell what teams are going to be good by the end of the year against North Florida, you know what I mean? And they only shot 20% from the three against North Florida when they played them. So like that game was a game I actually watched. So that's why I remember that off the top of my head. And I just was confused. Like, how are you not making these threes? You know what I mean? Like you got to make shots. Making threes is a huge part of college basketball in this day and age. You can't shoot under 40% from the three and expect to go far. You know what I mean? 40% is a lot to ask, to be honest. But still, we got teams like Purdue making 12 for 25. Freaking, there's Bama made 16 for 30 the other night. Like these teams are gonna shoot you out the gym. You know what I mean? Especially Bama. They're an SEC team. I want to see Bama versus Kentucky matchup. That's gonna be a good game, in my opinion.
Yeah. So do I think Kentucky is a good team? Yes, I think they have a very good team, 1 through 5. I think they kind of have everything you need. Maybe they could use a little more shooting, but are they good enough to win 6 games in the NCAA tournament? I'd put $1 million on it. No, like absolutely no way they can win 6 games in a row in the NCAA tournament.
I agree with you. I like how you put that in.
That's not the team. They're just not. They're not built how a championship team is built. Not even close, actually.
For sure. So I think that wraps up our AP talk. Well, we forgot Kansas, but I don't want to spend a lot of time on Kansas. I think they're a contender. I think they just had a fluke game against Dayton. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because I know people are going to come at me for saying this, but Kansas is a team where if you watch the games, they got some goofballs on their team, but they're savvy and they're older, they're buying in to what Bill Self wants to do over there. They're buying in. McCormick, Braun, all these guys, all these older guys are buying in. OG Akbala is a top 5 scorer in the country right now. He is killing literally anybody in front of him. You can't put a defender in front of him that is going to be able to guard him. He averages 23 plus points per game. He's a talent too, you know what I mean? I think he's going to take an NBA leap, but I think they're a contender. That Dayton game was a fluke game. You know, people will call them a pretender after what has happened with that loss, but that's just recency bias, you know what I mean? If the tournament was to start today, I think they're winning games. You know what I mean? I think they're gonna win games because they have an identity, like we've been saying for other teams. They have a go-to scorer if they need a basket. They have dudes who want to buy in and pass the ball and run their sets, and they have a really good coach. You know, Bill Self doesn't have that good of a resume. He has appearances. You know, he has a national championship. I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken. But you know, I'll take Kansas. I'll take my chance on Kansas, you know.
Yeah, so I mean they play St. John's. I think that's a neutral site game in New York on Saturday. So I'll touch on them more after that game. But for right now, I don't know. I think Kansas is a pretender, and I said it in the first episode of the year. They had a team with Frank Mason, Devontae Graham, Josh Jackson. I had them going to the national championship that year. Didn't even make the Final Four. I'm just not sold on Bill Self whatsoever as a tournament coach. You know, I kind of like their starting 5 a little bit. You know, David McCormick, he misses a lot of layups for a guy who's 6'11". So that's not really like a great thing. Remy Martin, I don't think he's really emerged onto the scene like we had expected him to. He transferred in to be a scorer. You know, we thought he was going to be a prolific Big 12 player. As of right now, he isn't. He isn't that. But do I think he'll become one? Yeah, for sure. Ochai Agbaji, like I said, I think he's an NBA player. You know, he's really out of all those like wing guys that Kansas has had, like LeGerald Vick, you know, Wayne Selden, Marcus Garrett. I think he's the best in terms of just an overall talent as all of them. But like I said, it's just Bill Self. I just can't. I'll never buy into him or any of his teams as being a contender, probably for as long as he's a coach, to be honest.
I can see where you're coming from, but I'll take my chances, like I said.
Yeah. No, we'll hit on it. We'll hit on it a little bit more after the St. John's game. You know, kind of see where they're at.
Yeah.
But we know what Kansas is like. You know, they're not going to lose at home. They struggle on the road, kind of at neutral sites. You know, losing to Dayton and everything like that. But it's too early to tell with Kansas, to be honest. You know, a lot of these teams you can kind of see like where they're going to go. We don't know where this Kansas team's going to go. We don't know if Christian Brown is going to become an emerging scorer. We don't know if Remy Martin is going to return back to his Arizona State days where he's getting 25 a game. We don't know yet. So it's there's definitely a few question marks for Kansas with me, but right now, pretender.
For sure. So that wraps up the AP Top 25 poll, what our thoughts are on the top 10 teams in it, and if we think they're pretenders or contenders. Now we're going to roll into the outlook. On Friday, we got number 8 Kansas versus St. John's. I'm just going to say I think Kansas covers. St. John's is sneaky, you know. Julian Champagny, Posh Alexander, they're having breakout years, but I'm taking Kansas. Not going to harp on this game too much. Definitely taking Kansas.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, St. John's, they're known for making it close against good teams. You know, they'd be up 20, blow lead, be down 20, full court press, come back.
For sure.
But just as the team is built, if the line opens, Kansas, you know, if they're 7-point favorites, I don't know, maybe take St. John's, but Kansas isn't losing this game. No way.
For sure. Next game we're going to talk about is Iowa versus Purdue. Like we said, in Mackey Arena, I'll take Purdue all day. I do not think they lose, but like you said, Iowa is kind of like game manager team. You know, they'll keep it close. Fran McCaffrey, he's an all right coach. I'm not high on him, but I'm high on Keegan Murray though. That's why I'm saying they'll keep it close. But you know, we'll probably see something happen like Florida State. You know what I mean? One guy has 30 points. So one guy has like 20 something points and then they lose by 30. We could see that happening, but I think they keep it close, but I'm taking Purdue money line if it's close. If the line's close, I'm taking Purdue money line.
Yeah. So the game's in Purdue, which I was so disappointed to see when I looked. I was praying the game would
I
just be a
know.
neutral site game.
Facts. Me
Lose to
too.
Iowa. Uh,
I checked that too.
because I don't I think Purdue, I think Iowa's a matchup nightmare for Purdue. I think Iowa can really get hot from three, and I don't know if Purdue's going to have a lot to say about it. So I'll probably take Iowa with the spread, but it's going to be hard for them to win this game in Mackey Arena. And if I do end up betting Iowa and Purdue beats them by 30, I'll shut my mouth about Purdue for a little bit though. I'll only be quiet for a little bit because I'm not sold on this team yet. But I do like Iowa in this game. I think they get hot from three, and Matt Painter, he might get exposed. We'll see though.
Yep, I could see him. I could see it being a close game. But at the same time, I'll take my chances with Purdue. I know Iowa's a good team, unranked this year, but I'll take my chances with Purdue. I think Iowa will be, like we said, I think they'll be ranked after this week. They should be at least in the top 25. Even if they're 25, they deserve to be ranked.
And the way I kind of look at it is they scored 75 points against Virginia. Scoring 75 points against Virginia, that's like scoring 180 points against any other team in the country. So I mean, if they can put up 75 against Virginia, I think Purdue, we've seen them to be susceptible from three against UNC and Villanova. I think Iowa could exploit that.
Yeah, for sure. So rolling in, number 16 Alabama versus number 3 Gonzaga on Saturday. This is going to be a game I'm very locked into. I like both sides. Honestly, I want to say I'm taking Bama plus whatever their plus, probably 8, 10, 12. They could end up being only 6, and I'll still take it. But I'm taking Alabama just for the fact that I'm all in on Jelly JQ and JD Davison. He's been playing really good at the right time for them, especially going into this game. That's why I'm saying it's the right time. He's playing good at the right time because they're going into a Gonzaga game that they have the chance of winning. Gonzaga just played down to Tarleton's level. I think Gonzaga is going to come out with more fire, and Mark Few is going to have them ready to win the game and try to put their foot down on Bama. But at the same time, I really like Nate Oates. You know me. I like Bama. I don't know why. I've always just liked how they shoot the three, live and die by it. And Nate Oates is just a really good coach, in my opinion. I like what he does. And yeah, I'll take Bama with the points. I think Gonzaga is going to win, but I'll take Bama with the points.
Yeah, and I'm kind of with you on Alabama. They're a prolific offensive team. Not a lot of teams in the country can really match up with them offensively. But one of those teams that can is Gonzaga.
Yeah.
And like you mentioned before,
they got the better bigs too.
Yeah, that's what I was going to touch on. I know they beat Tarleton, but that's a loss for them. Only beating that team by 9 points, that's a loss for them. So I think they're preparing for this Alabama game as if they did lose that game. And like you just said, I just think they're too long. They're just they're too tall, too long. Strother, Holmgren, Timmy. I just think it's going to be too much to handle for Bama. If you end up betting Bama, it won't fade you with Gonzaga, but I do think Gonzaga, I think they could run away with this for sure because I don't know if Bama is the team defensively that they're going to need to be in this game.
I don't know if they're the team we saw last year, which maybe I keep thinking about. I love that Bama team last year.
Don't get me wrong. I think Alabama, I think they're going to make a lot of noise this year, but Gonzaga, I think Gonzaga, like I said before, they're better than they were last year, and they're just not great.
I think Bama slept on because they lost Herb Jones, John Petty, all these other guys. You know what I mean? They lost a couple guys to the NBA, so.
Yeah, I think they'll win a lot of games this year. It just won't be this one.
Yeah, Josh Primo, whatnot. But I think, they're going to win a lot of games. They're going to be an SEC probably favorite to win the SEC again because they won it last year. So I would assume that they'd be the favorite. Probably behind Kentucky because Kentucky's got a better roster speaking. But yeah, I like what Alabama's going to do in this one. Not much on Marquette versus Wisconsin, but that game's also Saturday. I think Marquette could be sneaky. We've been underrating them all season, but I'm going to take Wisconsin and Johnny Davis. He's just a talent at this point, NBA talent in my eyes. I think he's got what it takes to lead the team.
I think I think it could be a close game. It's a rivalry game. But I think Wisconsin, they're still kind of riding high in the battle for Atlantis. They struggled with a bad Georgia Tech team the other night. I might honestly look at Marquette here. I'd have to do some more digging about Marquette. I know they have Daryl Morcell from Maryland. They're a very deep team. I know that. So they could present a problem for Wisconsin in kind of a letdown spot, still riding high off the battle for Atlantis.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sure that you just mentioned Johnny Davis. We're going to do a player segment next week where we kind of just run through some sleeper players or players who haven't performed like we expected. And Johnny Davis will probably be mentioned in that segment. So definitely something to look out for next week.
Yep. So we'll be back next week. Probably, I would say, somewhere between Saturday and Monday, we're going to be filming again. So expect an episode early next week, probably Monday morning or Tuesday morning. Expect an episode. Yeah, well, thank you guys that have stayed this long and tuned in through all the commotion. He lost power. It was kind of in and out at one point. So if you stayed the whole time, thank you for listening. And we'll be back, like I said, with another episode. So thank you.
Thank you, everybody.